Today, I want to talk about lifestyle. I don't want to say trade-offs, but the differences between New York and Ponte Vedra Beach, and just some of the things to look out for if you're thinking about a move to our area. So, I get a call almost every single week. Someone in New York who's ready for a different pace, and they don't want the brochure version. They want the honest story about life here in the Ponte Vedra Beach area. So I was thinking about a gentleman that I worked with this past spring, and big difference before I get into the rest of it. I'm on the phone with them, actually doing an inspection and walk through the house without them, and I'm sweating, I'm in a t-shirt, and they still had snow on the ground. So anyway, it was very fun to sort of talk through what their life was like versus ours here along the way. So, what I'm going to talk about is what some people aren't telling you about before the move. So if we haven't met, my name is Gwinn Volen, and I am the founder of the Volen Group. And my team helps people every week who are moving to the area or selling in Ponte Vedra Beach. So if anything resonates in this video with you, feel free to reach out. You can call or text 904-822-9255. That's our main number, and it usually actually comes directly to me. So if you hear, hello, this is Gwinn, it is me. A lot of the calls do come through to me. You can also look at the description of this video and click on the link, and you can book our calendar online there. So I want to jump in, but just also want to say that at the end of the video, I'm going to walk you through the three biggest mistakes Northeastern transplants make in their first 90 days here. By that, I mean when they're buying, selling their other home, coming here and getting settled in. So first, let's talk about lifestyle changes. So who am I actually talking to? Most of the people that I'm working with from New York, New Jersey, and Long Island aren't moving here because they're priced out. That's typically not the situation. They're moving because they've built some great equity and they're ready for just a different lifestyle. Warmer winters, less density, and a coastal pace of life that feels refined and awesome. And I think that distinction matters because it really changes the questions that you're asking yourself. This isn't, it's going to be a cheaper conversation. It's what am I trading? What am I trading kind of conversation, and what do I want? So let's get into it. First, I want to talk about taxes. So Florida has no state income taxes. You already know that. It's probably half the reason that you have our area on the radar. But one of the things that people don't know going in is that it's only one line on the spreadsheet. So we have Florida's homestead exemption and the Save Our Homes assessment cap that are both powerful, but they do apply differently to a brand new resident over someone who's lived here for, say, 15 years. So your first year, your property taxes are going to be based on your purchase price. You don't get to take advantage of the previous owner's homestead. So really looking at tax records in the MLS, it's irrelevant. Your taxes are going to be based on the purchase price. What I have seen, and this is not necessarily a strict formula, but often tax assessor takes the purchase, the last sold price, and they take 85 to 90% of that value. You then subtract your, homestead exemption, assuming it's a couple, that's $50,000, $25,000 per person. And then that Save Our Homes cap goes in, and your property taxes can go up no more than 3% annually. So the tax savings are real. I just like to be clear that it's not the whole picture, and you're not just picking up someone else's tax base. So the next thing is insurance, hurricanes, and total cost of ownership. So insurance sometimes catches people off guard more than anything. In New York, I think people are used to homeowners insurance being sort of a background expense. And here it's a little bit more front and center than you might expect, particularly if you're in that uber luxury category of oceanfront. or a mile from the ocean, you're going to have slightly different requirements for coverage for wind and flood. So your premiums may look a little different than they do in New York. Other things that do come into play are roof age, construction type, flood zone designation. All of those things sort of go into the factoring of homeowners insurance. Hurricane preparedness. All right, so that's definitely a part of our lifestyle, and it's definitely not something to scare you off, but it's just something to plan for. We're not like Miami where there are requirements for hurricane impact windows or shutters or anything like that. But, if you're going to replace windows in a house, something to look into. It will, impact your insurance rates. A lot of people have been looking into generators lately, just as an extra comfort. And then, of course, you need an evacuation plan. One thing I do want to point out, though, is that, things like a generator. Look at your area and where you are. Like in Ponte Vedra Beach, also includes Nocatee, our power lines are buried. So don't envision a world where power is going out all the time. It doesn't happen. The few times that it has gone out since I've been here, we moved here in 2006. And I think we've lost power maybe 3 times. And it was not for a long period of time. But it does stink if it's hot out. So a generator is a nice thing to have for sure. So none of this is dramatic once you're used to it, but it's just something to pay attention to. It's new, and it's something you look at overall. And as you get closer to September, you buy water, all of those kinds of things. The evacuation plan, if you are in Ponte Vedra Beach or Jacksonville Beach, Atlantic Beach, you're always going to be in zone 1. I think people listen to that only a part of the time. But like we've evacuated once, that was in 2016 during Hurricane Matthew. And then we've sort of held our ground. But all things to consider, everybody has a different comfort level. So I'm not going to tell anybody what they should or should not do. So here's the thing everybody really wants to know. We're going to talk about pricing. What does your equity actually translate into? So in Ponte Vedra Beach proper, and by that I mean, if you are looking at a map, you are going down Ponte Vedra Boulevard, it heads towards St. Augustine. Once the big oceanfront homes turn into Gwinn State Park, I'm excluding that area. That's called South Ponte Vedra. It's beautiful, but it's not really part of the core Ponte Vedra Beach matrix. So within core Ponte Vedra Beach, our prices are, quite up 26% from last year. So, people, I think, recognize the lifestyle. And, if you're looking at an area like Old Ponte Vedra Beach, you're paying for walkability to the beach, established community, access to beach clubs. Prices are going to be high. I'd say land is going to start at 2.5 to 3 million, and it's up from there. Then if you're looking, say, at Marsh Landing, you're buying into a gated community. The club is not a requirement to live in Marsh Landing, but it is definitely more of a club-driven lifestyle where the neighborhood does have golf and tennis available if you want to join a club. So just something to look at. Prices in that neighborhood start probably 1.4 and go up from there, just depending. They're kind of different areas. Then you've got Sawgrass Country Club. So there are 2 Sawgrasses. Sawgrass Country Club is beachside. It's walkable to the ocean. I would say that's probably our next highest price point over past Old Ponte Vedra Beach. Again, you are not required to join the club, but people usually do because it is a fun lifestyle, right? So all the neighborhoods have distinct characteristics. TPC Sawgrass, which is, I guess, formerly called the Players Club, is another Sawgrass neighborhood, a variety of price points, things to do, but a little bit more club-centered. And then if you're looking at Nocatee, which is, so I gave a map here. It's just inland from Ponte Vedra Beach. It still is Ponte Vedra is the city name, but It's going to be a master plan community, so it's different than Ponte Vedra Beach. It's newer. You've got a variety of different price points. It's built around this great water park, and there are swimming pools in almost every neighborhood. There are walking trails, running trails. Definitely more of that planned kind of lifestyle. We can't really talk about demographics, but I can tell you that a new school opens up all the time in Nocatee to accommodate all the people that are moving there. So, one thing I want to point out is there's not one great, perfect neighborhood, and nothing is really better or worse. It's sort of what you're looking for. What kind of life do you envision for yourself, and where are you in your life? So next, I kind of want to talk about schools, commute, and daily logistics. So if you're relocating with a family, I am guessing that schools have come on your radar. People love to look at niche and different things, and St. John's County schools, they're a huge part of why Ponte Vedra Beach and Nocatee keep showing up on national lists for places to move. School systems and zoning works a little different than in New York, so it's just important to understand before you fall in love with a specific house, if you have a specific school you want your kids to go to. So the commute is another adjustment. All right, so particularly if you're commuting, into New York, into Manhattan, this is going to be completely different. It's way less dense. We do not have subways or trains, though you are going to be driving more. Like my husband, when, it's been a while, he had a job at one point in our big city, Jacksonville, and it was a 30-minute drive, but it was a very long drive. So very different from the drives that he'd had when we lived in Atlanta, or Lord, when we lived in LA or San Francisco. So it's a longer drive, great podcast situation, but it just is a different feel. You're not going to be having the same kind of grind, if you will. One thing I also want to point out is that if you're reading online, sometimes people, and these will be locals, that'll complain in, forums, Facebook groups, that kind of thing. They'll talk about the traffic in Ponte Vedra is so bad on A1A, and I want to dispel those rumors. I've lived in Atlanta, DC, San Francisco, LA, and this traffic is just, to me, non-existent. It might mean 5 minutes at a light, but 5 minutes longer than it was 10 years ago. But when you look at the big picture of what traffic really means, it's really not bad. So don't judge based on those online comments. Okay, so I do think that you'll be surprised in a good way as far as traffic and commute goes. All right, so here's the part that doesn't show up in any spreadsheet. The first 90 days are going to be an adjustment. Even when your move is right, you're still going to be learning new vendors. It's a new pace, new social game. You're going to learn about bugs and the balmy summer weather. It is very hot here. I want to point that out. Though I will say we have stellar weather from late October all the way, I think, through the end of May. We've got beautiful, beautiful weather. And then the summer does get a little hot. Anyway, all these things are things that you learn to get used to. There are no red flags. It's just real. And people, it's going to take you a minute. So the three mistakes, we're to my three mistakes now. So these are the three things that Northeastern folk tend to make down here. So mistake number one, and we covered this, but underestimating insurance before you've ever made an offer. People fall in love, then they get the insurance number back, and it can change that equation. So I would say, do your research early. Insurance companies are happy to run quotes for you. Again, in the grand scheme of things, our insurance is not crazy high or anything, but it's different maybe from what you're used to. So do a little bit of research, have them run quotes on certain addresses just to give you an understanding. The second mistake is, I think, assuming that every HOA works the same way. So if we're looking at, say, Marsh Landing, Sawgrass, the Plantation, Nocatee, they all structure things very differently. I'll use Plantation as an example. Its HOA dues includes a club. So you've got golf, you've got croquet, you've got tennis, you've got pickleball, you've got a beach club. So yes, their dues look high, but you've got a lot. In Marsh Landing or Sawgrass, Ponte Vedra Beach communities, their clubs are not included. The HOA dues are lower, but you don't get access to all the amenities. And then obviously Nocatee, master plan community, you are going to have, a variety of different dues. One of which is CDD fees. It's a, it's on your tax bill, but it is another fee that you pay. But you are getting tons of amenities within Nocatee. These water parks are crazy. So just pay attention and read and understand and ask your agent, what the fees actually are. So then the third thing is just rushing your lifestyle adjustment. The families, I think, who struggle the most are the ones who expect to feel fully settled in week 2. You need to give yourself time. I've moved a lot before I got married and settled here. So we've been here 2006, and I now have, a senior in college and a freshman in college, so fresh empty nester. But before that, I used to move a lot, and give everybody a chance to settle in. After 90 days, I think you're likely going to be surprised at how comfortable you are, and you're going to have met some people, but it always takes a little bit to get settled in. Personally, as a transplant, I think most people are, it's a very welcoming area. So I think that you'll settle in, but don't beat yourself up if you're kind of walking around a little lost, trying to figure out which grocery store to go to. That's all just part of everything. So that is it. I hope this has been helpful to some of you Northeasterners that are looking at Florida. And you can always, again, call or text 904-822-9255, and happy to literally answer any question that you have. You can also click on the link in the description. It'll help you. And as always, if you want to sell a house in Ponte Vedra, we are here to help, and do generally talk to a lot of out-of-towners who sometimes are looking for off-market properties. So that is it. Have a great day.